So in this demo, we're just going to do some basic navigation and file naming. Get familiar with what's here. Okay. So at the end of the last one, we kind of navigated to this location and downloads, which I made just photos to process, and I found some old photographs from a drive where I don't think they're in great shape. Some of them were either scanned in or they're so date corrupted, we'll say, that there's inaccuracies and all that. So we'll just kind of wing it to see if we can be helpful at all with this tool. So here we see right away we see these little warnings. It says file name date does not match created date. So let's see, the created date, it thinks it's 2012, 12/9, and this is claiming to be around 2000, both named slightly differently. I don't put a lot of folder manipulation or file manipulation features into FileMe, so if you wanted, for instance, to rename this, you'd have to navigate to a folder to get that. I don't think we have file renaming, but at least it does, so it monitors the folders, so that's why we see that the name did change here. At least it reflects that change. That's nice. If it didn't fast enough for you, you can always hit this refresh button very specifically. But anyway, we want to get rid of that little guy just for the heck of it, because anytime I see it, particularly on files, it's kind of giving me an idea that things don't match. So come in here, and if it's a folder, you get to choose quickly, like use the created date, modified date, or the file name. File name meaning this prefix, because I'm kind of anal that way. You can actually turn this prefix off, by the way, if you don't like prefixes. You can actually prepend the date to file name. I like it on. You can turn it off, but you'll see what happens when we have that. And then we have a couple of other things as well. File to file date drag, meaning when I move this along, it will automatically take the target and change it to whatever the source was that you dragged over it. Let's see. There we go. Let's see, confirm before applying. That's reasonable. And then whether you want an offset or not. Right now it's at no offset, but something that might be reasonable is just do a minute, something like that. So because basically a lot of these things we just make up a time because it's just not that important. Again, didn't really go over the reasons for why you want a FileMe, but particularly when you're working with photo libraries and so on, they're interested in the EXIF date often, but you want to, at least if you're fastidious about it, you'll want to have like stuff from the 60s come before stuff from the 70s and get the proper chronological order. And if you don't have dates under control, you can get all kinds of stuff just all whacked out. Again, this is more important, if you use a variety of sources, scanning, old photographs, old files, different digital tools that capture the images. But if all you do is use your iPhone all the time, then you don't have no worries, because everything's kind of managed cleanly at this point. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to come back to this later. We'll see what we can do with that. There'll be another demo. Okay, so to this, I'm just going to take this and say, yeah, let's use the file name and make it actually saying 2000 here. Notice that. And you can actually do two at once if you want, like this. So I've got both of them. And I'll say again, use the file name. So whatever if this had said 2001-ish and this one said something else, that would change, right? But oh, looks like I didn't grab it after all. But that's all right. Okay, so we did modify that with this guesstimated thing. If it only sees a year up front, it will choose to like the middle of the year, because it's just estimating. So that's why we see July 1 there. And if you had a year and a month in the format, it would pick the middle of the month, or the 15th typically, right? And that's just what you get when you're estimating. So, and then notice we don't even care about the time at this point, it's just zeros. So let's come in here and see what we've got. So we get quick previews of images. If we click here, we get to see, okay, this is pretty old. And I actually see 12/27/00. I'm suspecting that's 12/27 in 2000. So what I'm going to do here is demonstrate a different format here. Instead of, notice we see 2004s and all these here, 2007. So it's a bit of a mess. So I'm just going to, let me see if they're all like that, by the way. is what a Brent. So yeah, I think 1227 again. Can't tell with that one. Can't tell with that one. Oh, they're all looking fine. Let's see. Yeah, there's a different one, 1227 again. So I'm just going to assume everybody's 1227. So I'll say 2000. 1227 is my bucket of dates. And then here I could just say, grab all of these files. I'm just going to take them all and assume it's all the same date. Right? Can't really, the highlighting doesn't work very well. I can't really tell. But let me see if I can get this right. Yeah, I can't really tell if it doesn't look like I'm grabbing them all, but I'm going to see what I can do. And I'm going to take the bucket and drag it over here. Yeah, it does. It did grab all the files. My highlighting is messed up, but 18 files will be renamed. Right? They're all going to get the prefix of the day, and so they're going from that to that. And we're going to apply it, and also, let's see what else. We'll be changing the internal dates as well, obviously. So let's see that if that's finished. Okay, it looks like it's all done. And now we see everybody's had their date set. Right? And then we see no location here. Right? No location again. No location again. I love that one. It's a good one. Let's see. Mickey. It does look like Mickey Mouse. That's a view from the office. Let's see. So what I want to do with location stuff is just hit this pin right here to show location buckets. And I'm just going to say, this was actually Lynn Street in Roslyn, so I think it's Roslyn, VA. Oh, search for that. Yeah, they're good enough, Arlington. So I'm just going to add this here. And similar to the way we did the other guys, I'm just going to try and grab them all again. And, that time I saw it highlight. That's interesting. And dragging this again, it's going to change all the files locations to that. And again, close enough, right? So if we're looking at a big map later, the fact that we're all in basically that same location is reasonable. Okay, so now we see the GPS location for Arlington, and just a nice generic Arlington. Let's see, yep, everybody's good. Still don't like the names necessarily, so we're going to save that for another demo where we would not only mess with the dates and the location of a file, but we'll also be able to use AI to help us name it more appropriately based on what it sees.